Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on over in Israel and Palestine. Palestine, as you know, is fighting this uphill battle for recognition as a state at the United Nations, and the United States and Israel have put tremendous pressure on member nations to vote against it or to abstain. The goal here is not to prevent Palestine from being a state, because the United States has already said they'll veto on behalf of Israel. You know, when the United Nations, when the collected nations of the world get together and say, we think Palestine ought to be a state, the U.S. is going to get up there and go, oh, veto, 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 veto. Can't do that. Which, of course, is going to be yet another demonstration that Israel controls the government of the United States of America. So the U.S. doesn't want to do it. So they're trying to go under the table and say, you can't do that. You'll embarrass us. And we're hearing that enough nations might abstain to where the motion won't pass, and the U.S. will be off the hook, having to once again publicly abase itself before Tel Aviv. The Palestinians are still pushing forward at the United Nations, not because they're expecting any kind of success, but because they basically want all of the countries to have to get up there at that microphone and explain why they didn't want to support Palestine's bid for statehood within the organization whose original plan was a state of Israel and a state of Palestine living side by side in peace. Now, this thing about UNESCO and the reason the U.S. yanked its funding and the rest of it, I found out there's kind of an interesting little wrinkle in that organization. It's not just, cultural niceties with each other. Membership in UNESCO means that you are recognized as having a sovereign territory, and that other countries can commit war crimes against you, for which they can be sent to the international criminal courts. And all the other member nations of UNESCO are obligated by their membership to arrest war criminals on their territory and send them to the criminal courts. So the reason Israel got really upset over this UNESCO's recognition of Palestine is it means that every nation that's a member of UNESCO, any Israeli officials, military officials, government officials traveling in those countries can be arrested and sent to the International Criminal Court. That includes Great Britain, which wrote their own laws to say Israeli war criminals are immune. That doesn't apply anymore, because Great Britain, like the United States of America, places treaty obligations above the internal law. Go back and check your Constitution. You'll see that that's true. So that's the reason the U.S. and Israel got very upset when UNESCO admitted Palestine, because now Palestine has a legal framework, a legal structure to start prosecuting these people who commit war crimes against the Palestinian people. And that's why they're upset. And that's why Israel's bombing them, just to prove how butch they are, how manly they are. We're going to go into these people we've starved to death for the last 50 years with the latest and greatest American warplanes and weapons, just to show them that we're Samson. We're the modern... And, of course, they're not. They're Khazars. They're not even Hebrews. The Ashkenazi Jews are not descended from the biblical Hebrews. They just read the book and said, ooh, that sounds cool. We'll pretend we're those people. So, all righty. Now, occupied Palestine has been recognized as a state formally by the government of France. Scarkozy is starting to actually show some independence. Even though he himself is Jewish, he's starting to drift away, and that may have been part of the dialogue between he and Obama at the G20. Netanyahu has just ticked them both off, and maybe Sarkozy said, you know something, I'm tired of dealing with your nonsense. Palestine's a state. There, that's for you. Meanwhile, the Israeli Supreme Court is sending former Israeli President Moshe Katsav to jail for 7 years for rape. Nice people they got in the government down there. All right, we're going to go to the phones here. We have got Kevin in Maryland. Aloha, Kevin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Michael. Hey, I've got a theory about Israel.
Okay.
And, everybody talks about the Zionist plot and the Zionists are running our government. Israel's running our government, but I don't think that's the case. My theory is that Israel was set up by the military-industrial complex to be a piece of theater, so the United States government could get involved in the Middle East whenever they wanted to, by claiming that Israel was in danger and we have to protect Israel and they're our allies and all this. And it's nothing but a bunch of theater going on.
Well, we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. We have seen Israel as the obvious initiator of a great many of these situations, such as the Lavon affair, the fake radio transmitter in Tripoli, the attack on the USS Liberty, attack on the USS Cole, and, of course, the Mossad agents who were dancing and high-fiving at the World Trade Towers on 9/11.
Well, absolutely.
Let me ask you a question. Kevin, let me ask you a question. When did the United States ever need an excuse to invade somebody? They just go invade somebody. Okay, they can set it up. I'm sorry, I don't buy into this. Israel's clearly calling the shots here. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you. We're going to let you go here, and yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, Israel is really the root cause of all of this. They want greater Israel. They want everybody else's property. We had this horror story of World War II dropped on us to convince the world that what Hitler could not be allowed to do to Poland, Israel had to be allowed to do to Palestine. That was this incredible about-face that the world community did. We're always seeing, Israel saying, you've not done enough for us. Are you kidding? The U.S., the UN, the world, betrayed the very principles of World War II to allow Israel to come into being without Palestine being side by side with them. We all, as a planet, united together on the principle that Nazi Germany did not have the right to march into Paris, France, and just take it for their own. And yet, we turn around and say, yeah, it's okay for the founders of Israel to march into Palestine and take it for their own. This is one of the reasons why Israel's saying you don't do enough for us really does not make any sense. The whole world betrayed their principles, their moral principles, to allow Israel to do to Palestine what Nazi Germany could not be allowed to do to Poland and everywhere else. That's how much Israel has been supported. That's how much support they have enjoyed. And they got it because they simply said, oh, look what happened. We had death camps, and we had this, and we had that, and we had soap, and we had lampshades, and all this stuff. It was an amazing propaganda campaign to a world that didn't realize the scale of the lies that were being told and are still being told to this very day. So we know the author of these problems. The fact of the matter is that Israel refuses to draw their borders, and they refuse to live within them. Israel has fought against there being a Palestine tooth and nail. You'd think that a people that finally got their own country would be grateful and say, gee, for me, thank you. Let's draw the borders. What have we got you want to buy? What do you have we want to buy? And that's the path to peace, trade, and commerce. But Israel has never drawn their borders. They don't even have a constitution yet. They have the world record for defying the United Nations resolutions. And yes, the United States government is complicit and an accessory to a lot of what's going on. But no, Israel is not a facade. Israel is Israel and always has been. The question is, what is that stranglehold they have over the American government? And I'm not the first person to ask that. In fact, Steve over at Desert Peace put up an article earlier today saying, what is it that allows Israel to control not just the United States, but all these other governments around the world? What is it they're doing? When world leaders go to Israel, do they videotape them with a goat and 3 Girl Scouts or something? Is it just the money? Is it just the control of the media? In the case of the United States, I am convinced that Israel, after helping the United States stage the 9/11 false flag to kick off a century of war, that Israel turned around and started blackmailing the U.S. government with it, saying, well, we got you now. Yes, we helped you do it, but if you don't do what Israel says from now on, we'll tell the entire world who was really behind 9/11 And it'll be worse for you than for us. Because if you look at Israel's arrogance before and after 9/11, you see it take a spike. What was it Netanyahu said when they asked him about 9/11? He said, well, it's very good. And then he backs up and said, no, I don't mean it was good. I mean, you're going to have a lot of sympathy for us now. So it doesn't get more obvious than that.